Often I'm asked if there's any significant patients that stand out in my memory. So maybe some of these patients that came in very tragically in a devastated state that made a huge improvement at the end of the 5 days that they spent with us. And there's just so many that it's so hard to think of one or two. So I'm sure somewhere on our website there'll be some places where you can view some testimonials and some videos of some of our past patients and explaining their experience. But some of the stories that really touch my heart are the passionate stories, the people that want to do the very, very basic things in life. So one of them was this one woman that I saw when I worked in Atlanta, and she had slowly been deteriorating over time, and then she ended up in a wheelchair. And by the time we had saw her, she'd been in a wheelchair for almost 27 years. It was like 25 to 26 years. And her only aspiration and the only thing that she wanted and her only goal for seeing us was to be able to dance with her husband again. So I guess before she had become handicapped, her and her husband loved to dance. They used to go dancing on the weekends, and that was her only dream. So to keep the story somewhat short, we treated her for 5 days, and she took her first steps at the end of that first week. We sent her home with some exercises, and we paired her up with a functional neurologist in her area to continue treatment over a longer course of time. And she sent us a video about a month later of her and her husband dancing for the first time in like 27 years. So that was a really cool story. And there's some stories that maybe don't end so well that also touched me really deeply. We often see individuals that have been given a terminal diagnosis, such as progressive supranuclear palsy, or PSP. This is a neurodegenerative condition. From the time of diagnosis till the end of life is usually between 3 to 5 years. So it's a really fastly progressing disorder. And for those types of people, realistically, we're not going to cure them. We're not going to reverse their diagnosis. What we're able to do is make the time that they're here on this earth just a little bit better so that they can enjoy the time with their family. So we had this one patient who was diagnosed with PSP, and they came in fully understanding that we weren't going to be able to cure him, but just make his time a little bit better. And one of the goals that he had set was just to be able to walk, right? He was walking with a 4-foot walker, and he was just kind of hunched over, and he couldn't really think so well. So we ended up seeing him for 2 weeks. The family wanted to stay for 2 weeks, so 10 days of treatment. And he ended up standing up straighter, he ended up walking, he was speaking much better, and without even telling us, he was like choking on food, and he was no longer choking on food anymore. A week later, he went home, and his daughter-in-law sent us a picture of him throwing a football with his grandson. So those are the types of memories that individual is going to have when everybody told him there was no other choice but to him to sit and wait to decline. He came and saw us, and he was kind of invigorated with a new functionality, a new quality of life, that he was able to make memories with his grandson that he would have never had been able to make had he not seen us. So those are just two of the stories that maybe have touched me over the years, but there's a dozen more. I mean, we can just go on and on with this, and I'd like to do that. So if it's something that people are interested in hearing more about, just give us some feedback, and I'm happy to kind of tell you some more stories of some successful cases that we've had.